A Tupolev Tu-20 Bear bomber flies into NATO-controlled airspace. The Soviet aircraft's intentions are unknown. An alarm goes off on the ground below. U.S. Air Force F-15 Eagle supersonic jet fighters are immediately sent to intercept the Bear. Once contact is made with the gigantic Soviet bomber, the Eagles will firmly but gently form a guard to keep the Bear from getting too close to any potential targets.
We're climbing in the air with that item. Keep heads up out there.
This scenario, which might take place every day, tests the readiness of NATO's air defense network. F-15 aircraft and flight crews are constantly on alert, stationed on bases in Alaska, Japan, Korea, the Philippines, and throughout Western Europe. The Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, or USSR, is the largest country in the world, spanning across 2 continents and with access to 3 oceans. With such a large operational area, NATO air forces are kept busy around the clock checking Bear and other Soviet aircraft activities. Many diverse republics make up the USSR, of which Russia is the most well-known. From its bloody revolution beginning in 1917 to its World War II battles, the USSR has always felt that it has had to stand alone against the rest of the world. More than 20 million Soviet citizens were killed during World War II. It has been invaded numerous times from Napoleon to Hitler. As a result of these military encounters, the Soviets have built up an air force comparable to NATO's. If the U.S. and its NATO allies are to maintain air superiority in the skies of the free world and deter an attack, it is vitally important to know the fighting capabilities of the USSR's air forces.
Stand by for the turn. Roger, tally and counter. Control and turn the target.
The Tu-20 Bear was designed as a long-range strategic weapon bomber by the Andrei Tupolev Design Bureau in the early 1950s. It is a classic example of one of the Soviets' fundamental military philosophies, that when a weapon system becomes outdated for its original mission, it is modified to serve a new role. Since the deployment of newer and faster Soviet jet-powered bombers, the Bear has been converted to an armed reconnaissance platform, electronic intelligence gatherer, and to launch long-range cruise missiles such as the Kelt, Kangaroo, and the latest supersonic AS-15. It is flown by the Soviets' naval and long-range aviation forces. Inside the Bear's weapons bay could be 22,000 pounds of bombs, mines, and anti-submarine torpedoes. Air-to-surface missiles would be suspended from the fuselage or wings. The Bear's crew of 7 fly in a 160-foot-long aircraft powered by 4 monstrous 15,000 horsepower turboprop engines. The twin counter-rotating 18-foot propellers are coarsely pitched for maximum fuel economy, so 25-hour-long missions are not unheard of. For more than 30 years, Bear bombers have crossed into Western airspace. They are a very familiar sight to NATO interceptors. They are also part of a long history of Soviet aviation's encounters with the West. The Korean War was the first armed conflict in which the jet fighters of the United States and Soviet Union engaged in dogfights with each other. The Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-15 Fagot completely changed the way air combat would be fought after World War II. Its deployment in battle came as a shock to U.S. pilots flying prop-driven P-51 Mustangs, which were 300 miles per hour slower than the MiG. Even the jet-powered F-80 Shooting Star was 100 miles per hour slower than this new swept-wing Mach .9 fighter. The turbojet engine gave it a rate of climb 30% higher than U.S. fighters, and the twin 23 and 37 millimeter cannons made the 15 a lethal adversary in the skies over Korea's Yalu River. The MiG-15 design pieced together a counterfeit British Rolls-Royce Neame engine and modified German airframe. Its main strengths were its excellent low-speed maneuverability, heavy armament, and superb climb rate. However, the tail rudder mounted stabilizers would make it tricky to fly at top speed. Hundreds of MiGs were reportedly based just inside communist China. Nevertheless, only 2 months after its spectacular debut, the MiG-15s would meet a fighter team that was more than its match. F-86 Sabre jets from the 4th Fighter Interceptor Group were flown in from the U.S. to stop the MiG threat. The Sabre was slightly faster than the MiG-15, but had nowhere near the maneuverability or climb rate. It was also more lightly armed than the MiG, as the Sabre carried 6 small 50 caliber machine guns. The biggest advantage the F-86s had were its experienced World War II combat ace pilots. In contrast, the majority of MiG-15 pilots received little training before being sent into combat. By the end of the war, F-86 pilots had outgunned their MiG counterparts with a kill ratio of 10 to 1. Nearly 800 MiG-15s were shot down by F-86 fighter interceptor groups. The Soviets were well aware of the 15's problems at high speeds and had corrected many of them with a similar-looking MiG-17 Fresco. The MiG-17 saw a lot of action with the North Vietnamese Air Force, although it was clearly outdated by the mid-1960s. The MiG-21 fish bed is propelled to Mach 2.1 by a powerful Tumansky afterburning turbojet engine. Since its first delivery to the Soviet Air Force in 1958, the MiG-21 has become the most widely deployed combat aircraft in the world. 30 countries fly this MiG as a short-range day interceptor. It has seen combat against U.S. fighters in Vietnam and during several of the Arab-Israeli wars. The reason for the fish bed's popularity is its simple design, which combines low cost, high performance, and lethal weaponry. It is a tribute to Colonel General Mikoyan that all the MiG-21's flight capabilities and armament could be put into such a relatively small airframe. The MiG-21 fish bed's design reflects the Soviet military's unique air-to-air combat philosophy. For unlike most U.S. fighters, there is no long-range internal target acquisition system. All combat intercepts are strictly coordinated from ground controller positions. A Soviet pilot isn't allowed any individual initiative, whereas a U.S. pilot, if he prefers, can fight virtually on his own. The Republic F-105 Thunder Chief was a top U.S. Air Force fighter and bomber in the skies over North Vietnam. Both the lightweight MiG-17s and 21s would have a hard time trying to shoot enough lead into this rugged aircraft for a kill. The Thunder Chief lumbered about in the air when dogfighting the more agile MiGs. But its better-trained pilots and arsenal of a 20-millimeter cannon with Sidewinder and Sparrow missiles were still able to kill 28 MiGs and achieve a kill ratio of nearly 2 to 1. Fans of the Israeli Air Force claim that the IAF is the biggest distributor of MiG parts in the world. Through numerous wars, conflicts, and skirmishes, Israel's jet fighters have destroyed more MiGs than all other nations combined. French-built Dassault Mirage 3s led the Israeli attacks against the Egyptian, Syrian, and Jordanian air forces during the Six-Day War in 1967. The Soviet-built Sukhoi Su-7B fighter is a supersonic fighter bomber that was specially designed to shoot down the United States F-100. During the Six-Day War, the Egyptian and Syrian air forces flew fitters armed with two 30mm cannons and air-to-air rockets. The Su-7B and MiG-21 put up most of the Arab resistance to the fierce Israeli aerial offensive. The Soviet-built fighters were able to kill a few Israeli aircraft, but the superior dogfighting skills of the Mirage pilots made them overwhelming victors. The surprise Israeli Air Force low-level attacks meant that hundreds of MiGs and Sukhois were destroyed before they even had a chance to take off. MiG-21s and Su-7s were flown by the Egyptians and Syrians once more during the Yom Kippur War in 1973. This time, the Israelis would meet them head-on with their U.S.-built F-4 Phantom II interceptors. The F-4's 20mm cannon would be its pilot's favorite weapon. The Phantom's remarkable kill ratio of 50-1 was 10 times better than the Mirage's 5-1 record. In the skies over Vietnam and the Mideast, the MiG-21's biggest combat disadvantage was its under-trained pilots and poor tactics. No aircraft, no matter how maneuverable, fast climbing, or well-armed, can make up for these penalties. The fish bed was starting to get old, as it was more than 25 years since it had first flown. Newer Soviet fighters were being deployed, but their military philosophy of equipment recycling meant that the fish bed would be upgraded to serve the USSR's own air defense. A more lethal cannon, 2 additional air-to-air missiles, and a bigger turbojet engine, which puts the MiG-21 in the same thrust-weight ratio class as the American F-15, will keep the fish bed a potential Soviet dogfighting adversary. In 1956, Admiral Gorshkov stated his goal of constructing a Soviet Navy to rival that of the United States. The Yakovlev Yak-38 Forger is a vital part of this buildup. It is a vertical takeoff and landing strike fighter, somewhat similar to British Aerospace's Sea Harrier in design. Although they are land-based and not carrier-deployed aircraft, Bear bombers outfitted with maritime reconnaissance and anti-submarine warfare equipment are also part of the Soviet Navy. The Forgers, Bears, and a variety of helicopters keep a close eye on U.S. ships at sea. The Forger, which was first seen by Western navies in 1976, is an extremely maneuverable aircraft and can reach a top speed of Mach 0.95. It can be deployed on a wide variety of combat missions armed with a mixture of aphid air-to-air missiles, air-to-ground missiles, anti-ship missiles, gun pods, rocket launchers, and bombs. Squadrons of 12 Forgers are based on the Kiev, Minsk, and other multi-role carriers. Some Forger pilots are extremely brave as they try to harass patient U.S. aircraft carrier battle groups. The Navy F-4s escorting this Bear were designed years after it was. They were out of frontline deployment in the early 1980s, while today the Bear is still flying strong. The Navy has tracked Bear flights from African Angola to Cuba, where they conduct electronic intelligence missions on the U.S. From these two air bases, the long-range Bears can cover almost the entire North and South Atlantic Oceans. 8 Bears are permanently stationed at the old U.S. base near Cam Ranh Bay, Vietnam, where they can observe Navy and Air Force activities in the Philippines. To protect its fleets from Soviet airborne attacks, the Navy issued a request for the best long-range interceptor American technology could inspire. The Grumman F-14 Tomcat with its Hughes AIM-54 Phoenix weapon system was the result. Flying at Mach 2.3, the Tomcat's Phoenix missiles can find their targets as far away as 90 miles and destroy them with a 132-pound high-explosive fragmentation warhead. The Tomcat also carries heat-seeking Sidewinder and radar-guided Sparrow air-to-air missiles. An optically sighted Vulcan 20mm cannon is used for the tightest dogfights. An area of 12,000 square miles from sea level to 81,000 feet can be defended by a single Tomcat. Carrier-launched Grumman E-2 Hawkeye airborne early warning aircraft vector the Tomcats toward any approaching threat. Bear bombers are quickly caught by alerted Tomcats. Each aircraft's crew displays extreme caution so no misunderstandings occur. In separate engagements with the Libyan Air Force, F-14 Tomcat shot down 2 attacking Sukhoi Su-22 Fighter Js and 2 MiG-23 floggers. If the MiG-23s had been flown by more skillful pilots, that dogfight might have been much closer. The Soviets' MiG-23 flogger was deployed within a year of the American F-14. They share many similar design features and are nearly equal in performance. The MiG-23 can carry wing-mounted gun pods with a twin-barrel 23mm cannon in its lower fuselage. The cannon is reported to be laser-sighted. No missile as sophisticated as the Phoenix has been developed yet for the MiG-23, but it is still well armed with 2 radar-guided Apex and 4 heat-seeking aphid air-to-air missiles. The MiG-23 has a variable sweep wing like the F-14 and can reach the same top speed of Mach 2.3. Its range is much less than the Tomcats, though, and Israeli pilots who've engaged Syrian MiG-23s claim that the flogger is easy to outmaneuver in a dogfight. However, export floggers are less equipped than the Soviet Air Force's own fighters. More than 3,500 MiG-23s have been built versus less than 600 Navy F-14s. The MiG-23 can also carry rockets and bombs. A specialized ground attack version of the MiG-23 is the MiG-27 Flogger D. A laser rangefinder and marked target seeker in the MiG-27's nose helps direct its ordnance of cruise missiles, bombs, and 23mm projectiles. For self-defense, the MiG-27 is armed with 2 Atoll short-range air-to-air missiles. Much of the Soviet Union lies along the Arctic Circle. The sub-zero temperatures, ice, and snow can quickly destroy an otherwise battle-proven jet fighter. Soviet engineers designed their aircraft to withstand this brutal weather and equipped them with features not normally found on U.S. aircraft. Extra large low-pressure tires, landing gear fenders, and engine intakes that can draw air from top-mounted vanes so as not to flame out from spraying snow and mud are standard to many Soviet military combat aircraft. This attention to surviving in the worst of battlefield conditions makes the Soviets less dependent on luck and fate. The historic marches of Napoleon and Hitler were stopped by hard Russian winters. If U.S. high-tech aircraft are to survive against the Soviets in this unforgiving environment, they should be similarly constructed. The McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle is flown by the air forces of the United States, Israel, Japan, and Saudi Arabia. Its top speed of Mach 2.5 makes it one of the fastest jet fighters in the free world. It might be the only American-built fighter that can catch the Soviets' Mach 2.8 MiG-25 Foxbat. The Eagle is armed with Sidewinder and Sparrow missiles. The General Dynamics F-111 was the world's first high-performance variable sweep-wing combat aircraft. With a maximum speed of Mach 2.2, the F-111 can fight armed as an interceptor or strategic bomber, not too different from the MiG-23 and 27 Flogger fundamental design. Years after the F-111 first flew, the Soviets built the Sukhoi Su-24 Fencer. It imitated many features of the F-111, including its all-weather capability, variable sweep wing, two-seat side-by-side cockpit, and twin engines. Smaller, lighter, and of higher performance than the F-111, the Fencer is the Soviets' best tactical attack aircraft. It can carry a 24,000-pound load of air-to-surface guided missiles, including some with nuclear warheads. The U.S. Air Force's General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon would be most likely to engage the MiG-23 or latest MiG-21s in combat. A lightweight airframe and powerful turbofan engine enable its pilot to outclimb both Soviet fighters. The Falcon can also outmaneuver them by pulling 9G turns. But its Mach 1.9 top speed means that the Falcon isn't quite as fast as the MiG-25 Foxbat, and it may not equal the MiG-29 Fulcrum in maneuverability. The U.S. Navy believes, though, that the F-16 is so close a match to the latest Soviet fighters that it has picked the Falcon to simulate them for its Top Gun aggressor squadron. The MiG-25 Foxbat was developed in the late 1950s to shoot down the planned U.S. Air Force B-70 Mach 3 strategic bomber. Two Tumansky R-31 turbojets propel the Foxbat to nearly 2,000 miles per hour. The MiG-25 is armed with 4 AA-6 Akrids, the world's largest air-to-air missile, and similar to the F-14's Phoenix. The Foxbat's performance and lethality struck such fear at the U.S. Air Force that it created the F-15 Eagle to counter it. The Foxbat's nickel-steel alloy airframe and afterburning engines were designed for uncompromised straight-line high-speed flights. If the Foxbat must slow down for a dogfight, it can be easily outmaneuvered. Reconnaissance versions and these twin-seat MiG-25U trainers are common variants on the Foxbat design. The official existence of the Soviets' MiG-29 Fulcrum was established by U.S. spy satellites in 1979. Its development was kept secret by the Soviets for 5 years until both Air Defense Forces and Tactical Air Army put the Fulcrum into service. Since then, the East German, North Korean, Syrian, and Indian Air Forces have acquired export versions. This video coverage, the first of its kind taken from a frontline Soviet fighter, was shot at a Finnish air show in 1986. The Fulcrum's amazing performance in front of a very critical audience was immediately obvious to everyone present. The MiG-29 was so advanced a combat aircraft that it was quickly set apart from all other preceding Mikoyan Gurevich and Sukhoi fighter designs. MiG-29 Fulcrum is an all-weather day or night dogfighter with some ground strike capabilities. It is armed with up to 6 radar-guided AA-10 Alamo and heat-seeking AA-11 Archer air-to-air missiles. These are the most technologically sophisticated aerial combat weapons the Soviets have ever created. The missiles work in unison with the Fulcrum's large pulse Doppler look-down, shoot-down internal radar, which means the MiG-29 can attack enemy aircraft flying at treetop level, as well as at 50,000 feet. The Fulcrum can also, for the first time in Soviet modern jet fighter history, acquire and attack targets independent of ground controllers. For strike missions, the MiG-29 can carry bombs and unguided rockets. The Fulcrum can outturn all other Soviet fighters, and with a thrust-to-weight ratio of better than 1, outclimb most of them as well. The Fulcrum's high-set cockpit and rounded canopy gives the pilot a nearly unobstructed 360-degree view. Some previous MiG designs had installed a crude rear-view mirror for the pilots to check their 6. 2 Tamansky R-33 afterburning turbofans can propel the Fulcrum to Mach 2.3, or more than 1,500 miles per hour. It needs only 790 feet of runway to take off and has a range of 1,300 miles. About 450 Fulcrums have been produced to date at the MiG factory in Moscow. Its advanced composite and metal alloy materials, aerodynamics, and avionics are evidence that the technological edge traditionally held by the West has narrowed considerably. It is replacing the MiG-21, 23, and Sukhoi Su-15 for frontline battles. The MiG-29's wings were specifically designed to carry a greater load than the U.S. Air Force's F-16. If they are engaged in a dogfight together, the Fulcrum will most likely outmaneuver the Falcon. Its airframe is about the same size as the U.S. Navy McDonnell Douglas FA-18 Hornet strike fighter. Its engines are more powerful than the Hornet's General Electric 404s. The aircraft carrier-launched FA-18 Hornet is the most high-tech, non-stealth aircraft in the U.S. inventory. The extensive use of lightweight graphite epoxy composite materials and computerized fly-by-wire flight controls help to make the Hornet among the most responsive and maneuverable aircraft ever made in America. Its digital heads-up display tunes the aviator into the status of every vital Hornet subsystem. The Navy and Marine Corps plan to deploy 1,400 FA-18s in the fighter and ground attack roles. Its standard load of 9 Sidewinder and Sparrow missiles can be quickly replaced with bombs, air-to-surface missiles, and rockets. Whether or not the Fulcrum can out-dogfight the Hornet will probably not be proven until the day they face each other. These aircraft demonstrate a shared direction in each nation's jet fighter design theories. The Soviet MiG-29s are based in East Germany, Hungary, and west of the Ural Mountains, deep inside the USSR. The Sukhoi Design Bureau is building a much larger version of the MiG-29, known as the Su-27 Flanker. Its mission is to protect Soviet attack aircraft from F-15 Eagles during strikes deep inside NATO territory. The Flanker has recently broken F-15 Strike Eagle flight records by climbing to 20,000 feet in less than 40 seconds. The 1st Flanker Squadron is based near the Finnish border on the Kola Peninsula. The MiG-29 Fulcrum, Su-24 Fencer, and Su-27 Flanker are forming the new might of the Soviet Air Forces and will be effective well into the next century. In 1985, a Royal Norwegian Air Force F-16 pilot intercepted a Super Foxbat, or MiG-31. Since renamed to Foxhound, the MiG-31 updates the MiG-25's airframe for more maneuverability and its avionics to incorporate a radar system similar to the FA-18 Hornets. 6 air-to-air missiles can be carried up to Mach 2.4. Only a few MiG-31s have been built to date. The existence of a Soviet stealth fighter or bomber is not yet known. The Mi-24 Hind D stunned the world when it first appeared. It is a heavily armored, troop-carrying assault helicopter armed with a 12.7 millimeter machine gun, air-to-ground rockets, anti-tank missiles, and bombs. The Hind was very effective during the Soviet-Afghan War. Most Hinds were based in the capital city of Kabul. They were used to kill bands of Mujahideen rebels operating from inaccessible mountain camps. Armed with U.S. Stinger surface-to-air missiles, the Mujahideen succeeded in downing many of the hated Hinds. However, infrared exhaust suppressors and flares helped save many Hinds from the lethal heat-seeking missiles. The Hinds also dropped chemical weapons and small anti-personnel mines into the heart of the rebel forces. The Mujahideen eventually drove the Soviets and their Hinds out of Afghanistan. In Nicaragua, the Hind attacks anti-Sandinista guerrilla forces. The Soviet military continues to grow in technology and in strength. More and more, their combat aircraft resemble America's.